So today is obviously the really big day if you are watching this on release date, which means that it is officially the date when the fourth stimulus inflation bill is going to be talked about inside of the House. So as in, if you are watching this on release date, as we are speaking right now, that bill is sitting inside of the House being negotiated on. Now the big idea is that even if you are watching this in the future, obviously in the future we'll finally know whether or not it goes through. It's expected to go through, but that's when we can finally confirm it whether or not it did, because again, nobody knows the future. But even if you are watching this in the future, this video will still very likely be relevant, because the big idea that I really want to talk about is really about the important stuff to know about this bill and where we're going to be going forward from here. There is also a brand new update where Bernie Sanders, interestingly, has now actually recently just come out in order to talk about certain kinds of amendments that he wants to potentially make to the bill. Now, obviously, because the bill is already going through, it's not going to be amended in this particular bill, but there are certain things that he's been thinking about trying to do, and this stuff, specifically what these things are actually things related to stimulus checks, child tax credit, everything in those kind of social. In other words, programs meant to put money inside of our pockets. So the big idea is that in today's update, I just want to give a brand new update to really talk about the fourth stimulus inflation bill, to talk about Bernie Sanders, certain changes, checks, and also interestingly about the new inflation report that recently did just come out, because at the end of the day, everything we talk about is all basically connected and related in some way, which is basically under the giant umbrella of helping this country and everything that's going on with inflation and the fact that prices are so expensive right now. And that's just something that is relatively difficult. But all of that stuff we're going to cover. So as always, real fast before we begin, if you guys enjoy videos like this, remember to smash the like button, or you guys can watch to the end to decide. It's just always greatly appreciated. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell if you guys are interested in similar videos like this. Of course, again, you guys can decide. But of course, as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts about honestly just really anything, maybe what you think about this bill. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So to maybe start about the background story to everything that's happening is that if you are watching this on release date, as just mentioned, is that the bill is currently sitting inside of the House. They're expecting to approve it inside of the House, and then it's going to President Biden's desk and hopefully for a final official complete approval in its entirety. The big thing in terms of what they're actually doing right now inside of the House is that they're really just trying to do a reading to really run through all of the specific details, making sure that all of the politicians are at least on board or knowledgeable about what actually is physically inside of this bill, especially because it's a very long bill. It's over 700 pages. We probably will make a future video, maybe just to highlight with the actual official bill all of the now details that we know are confirmed inside, now that we do hopefully, by then we'll have something approved. But the big thing to know also going on inside of Congress is that they are also technically on vacation right now for Labor Day. The Senate left right after they voted a few days ago. The House, this is really technically more of a special session where they're kind of just coming in order to work on this stuff, but then they're probably going to go back to their vacation, whatever they do on vacation, depending on what they want. But maybe to talk about one interesting new thing that really came up is really about the story with Bernie Sanders and about stimulus checks. So the big idea is that during the Senate session a couple of days ago, Bernie Sanders essentially came out to make a speech how he's not fully satisfied at the bill. Obviously, because he voted for the bill, you might be wondering, well, if he's not satisfied, why did he vote in favor of the bill? The big idea really is that because at the end of the day, he actually still very much supports many of the ideas that are inside of the bill, such as like about climate change, drug prices, everything that we've talked about. There was a video that we already kind of talked about those details. It'll be at the end screen on the bottom, but most of you guys already saw it, but huge thanks for that. But the big idea is that, even though he's relatively happy at what is currently inside, he also is not particularly happy because he wants more. So the big idea is that he really voted on this bill because he knows that a lot of the plans he has, it's probably not going to be likely to go through, or certainly at the very least, it's going to have to require a lot of further work. What he really wants to do is try to propose amendments in order to do programs such as like extending the child tax credit, and maybe simply put is just other kinds of social programs in order to send money inside of our pockets. So for example, whether that's through stimulus checks, tax credits, other kinds of, social related programs, these are the goals that he feels is really missing inside right now, that he's really trying to preach for. Now, obviously, because the bill has already been written, because it's already going through Congress, it's not going to be added, at least at this time, the probability is it's not going to necessarily be added inside of this current bill. But he is proposing those amendments, and what he maybe potentially wants to do is that maybe going forward, as once this is moved on from, is to maybe now try to create other plans to do other kinds of social programs, but perhaps in a future bill, or to try to do it on a very, very state-by-state level, or just other kinds of special ways that we've kind of talked about. It's a little bit more in depth, which we probably will cover in another video, but that's really the big story to what's happening with the world of just fourth stimulus actual checks that are meant to be put inside of he wants to put inside of our pockets to directly send relief. So in other words, is that he supports these programs, but he just wants more, and he doesn't support the entirety of it, if that hopefully makes a little bit of sense. Now, beyond this is that we did recently get new numbers about the inflation report, and there is some relatively hopeful news because, again, we're still, in the recovery stage, which is really the fact that the inflation report just came out right here, and it was found that essentially inflation over the last 1 year, so specifically from July of 2022 to July of 2021, because I think that's something that we also haven't really clarified before, which is about the fact that the inflation report references the last year. So essentially, when we shared it last month, it was referencing from May 2021 to May 2022, and now from July 2021 to July 2022, where it was noted that inflation rose by about 8.5%, meaning that they are now actually making an improvement. And most of this change was actually really mostly just due to a lot of the falling energy prices, because a lot of the other kinds of prices, and again, the way that they calculate these numbers is that they calculate the inflation rate across different kinds of categories. So for example, food prices, gas, bills, electricity, and in this case, energy. A lot of these, they're either still going up or just kind of moving sideways. But energy actually is one area that actually fell pretty significantly, which is what's bringing the average down now to where we have this number of 8.5%. So the really great news is that we are making improvements. The inflation rate was going up, up, and then finally, for the first time in a while, I believe they reported since March, we're now seeing a dip again. And that means that we are kind of moving in the right direction. It's still very high, but at least it's being moved in the direction. There is actually one relatively great news is that they did also say is that real wages did go up by about 0.5%. So it's not massive, but keep in mind is that this could have also dropped or stayed flat. So it's still, it's not massive, but at least it's still something. And again, this references real wages, which basically means it's the wage that people are making in perspective to inflation and the cost of everything that's around them. So that is one, maybe also it's not big, but it's still at the end of the day in the right direction, hopeful news. Now, what is the significance to everything that we just mentioned in the core of this is that it's because of a lot of stuff that's happening now that they do see the bill about to approve, now that they do have the numbers, everything that's coming out, it's leading to a lot of different things that are now reversing in our country. For example, the stock market, we are now starting to see actually a really, really massive rally, over the last week. So if you are someone that follows stocks, this is some relatively great news. I know some people maybe wanted it to kind of bottom a little bit more for more buying opportunities, but at least this means hopefully we're seeing some green inside. So there's still, some kind of good news there. But probably most of all, the biggest significance is that because if we are going to be doing a lot more programs into the future, all of these numbers are going to impact that, because the numbers that we see is going to be the argument or the support or the premise and the basis of what they use to see if they want to do more future programs going forward from here. But of course, all of this stuff we just have to see in one of the future updates, especially once they go through everything that we just mentioned is about to go through as we are speaking over the next couple of days. But of course, with that being said, that's pretty much what I really wanted to cover in today's update. So if you guys found that relatively insightful, as always, remember to smash the like button if you guys, did. Of course, again, you guys can decide, but hopefully, consider subscribing. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts about, whether or not maybe you support this bill. And again, it can really go both ways as well. Bernie kind of is on this side, Biden's on this side. So it is always interesting to hear from different perspectives. But of course, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well. If you're watching this unreleased, have a great weekend, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.